Welcome back to Young Tripp Reactions. The first video we're going to do is teen takeovers. Make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell notification, join the Young Tripp family. I drop new videos every day. Also, if there's any videos that you run across that you don't know if I know about yet, that are high viral or anything like that, that you run across, please post them in my community tab or send it to me over on direct message on Instagram. My Instagram will be typed out in the pinned comment. And for people who may have like disabilities where they can't necessarily, type it out, the actual link to my actual Instagram will be in the link in the description. So you can send those to me over there or post it in my community tab. Also, come follow me over on my professional Instagram as well too, because I post over there as well too for people who have Instagram. Make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe, join the Young Tripp family, and let's get into this. This is absolutely insane.
Welcome back into Live Now from Fox. We want to shift gears here a bit and talk about some of the trends that we're seeing across the country here. I do want to bring this up on your screen here. And what you're looking at is this viral teen takeover movement here that we are seeing across the country. And I just want to give you a little bit of background of what we're seeing, as from upscale waterfront neighborhoods to malls, parks, and packed restaurants, viral teen takeovers are erupting across the country, with police responding to fights, robberies, vandalism, and gunfire as massive crowds of juveniles overwhelm public spaces. And you can see there we have 4 boxes there of these teen takeovers in Chicago, Florida, Washington, D.C., and Atlanta, Georgia. So what we want to do now is bring in our next guest onto the program here, Michael Gold, who is the founder of the NYPD K-9 unit and a former NYPD officer. Michael.
And before we let the officer talk, this is absolutely crazy about these parents allowing these kids to be able to do this. And probably a lot of these kids that are doing this are kids that are growing up in single parent households, or not with their biological, or the mom is not with the biological dad, and things like that. As we know about the success rate of kids that are growing up in a two-parent household with the biological mom and the biological dad, and we know what the statistics and all that information says, versus growing up with stepdads, or moms or dads having multiple boyfriends or girlfriends, or changing husbands or wives left and right. So we do know about all that statistics. I just wanted to kind of bring that up about how it does state that parents who actually have successful relationships with the other parent of their children, that their success rate of being able to do a lot of positive things, buy houses, build generational wealth, is better when the biological parents stay together and there is no stepmoms, stepdads, no none of that. But let's continue.
Thank you so much for joining us here today. So talk to us a little bit about the difficulties here that law enforcement officers experience when it comes to trying to deal with large crowds of juveniles like some of these that we've seen on the screen here.
Yeah, certainly. So thanks for having me, Bowen. So this is nothing new. Urban teenage violence, teenage rebellion is part of the fabric of our society. We all, to some degree, rebelled when we were teenagers. This, of course, is taken to another level. But nothing new. In the 80s, I was a member of the NYPD, and there was a phenomenon called wilding. Wilding meant gangs of teenagers spontaneously went on sprees of violence, mugging people in Central Park through the theater district, unannounced and very spontaneous. It's difficult because teenagers are generally not held to the same standards as adults. So they're treated completely different by the criminal justice system. In fact, there's a separate system. There's a juvenile justice system. So it's very difficult. So nothing really happens. There's no consequence. And if we live in a very permissive society now, So it's a very difficult problem, and as the summer approaches, it's going to continue.
And that's just absolutely insane to know that um, that this type of stuff is basically going to continue because you have probably a majority of these kids are just wilding out either because of influence of friends or growing up probably in single parent households. Um, and again, not saying a person who has their biological mother and their biological father in their home um, can't lash out like this. But we know a majority of the kids that are lashing out like this are probably growing up in a single parent household, probably, preferably, probably a mother. Um, and that's what leads to this because you don't have a strong father figure in the home to prevent these kids from lashing out like this and sending them to the right places to not have this taking place. So, um, let me know what y'all think, and let's continue. Hold on, y'all. Advertisement.
You didn't become a practitioner to drown in admin, chase no-shows, or spend your evenings
Okay, I
on
can't
notes.
skip it right now.
But somehow,
Never mind.
you're working past work hours again.
So what role do we see social media play when it comes to these takeovers? And what sort of, does that really prove it to be more difficult for officers? Or does that help to maybe track down a location that it might spark at and kind of nip it before it happens?
Right. So it's a double-edged sword. So law enforcement does have the intel of searching social media, but these things happen so rapidly. Law enforcement just don't have the resources to deal with these types of things. When you look at these are hundreds of kids, maybe 20 cops, and they can't really be arrested. They're not detained in the same way as an adult would be. They're just turned over to their parents, to the custody of their parents, or to a guardian. So they never interact with adult prisoners or adult arrestees, I should say. So it's a tremendous problem. And as I said, the summer triggers all this thing, permissiveness, parents not taking responsibility. So it's a societal problem that's existed before, but social media certainly adds fuel to the fire, for sure.
And I also just did want to play out one of these comments here that we heard from a Florida sheriff here. I just want to play it and see what your thoughts are on this here real quick.
I'll guarantee you, they start cutting the fool, tearing up people's businesses, fighting in the streets. We're going to light them up, all of them. And then, mom and daddy, if you don't hold them accountable personally, make sure they're home when they need to be, then we're going to come lock you up too.
So just listening to the sheriff there, could we possibly see any sort of repercussions when it comes to parents of these kids that are out and about with these takeovers?
Yeah, certainly. So the sheriff is right. It's a little tough talk because the reality is police can arrest everybody that crosses the sidewalk illegally. But if the prosecutor and the judge don't do any type of formal sentencing and holding them accountable, of course, so logically the parents will be accountable civilly for sure, because kids have no money. So they have nothing to, there's no consequence, as I said. So the sheriff is right. Parents should be held responsible, but it's not as simple as that. So arresting people is easy. That's the easy part. And cops are very willing to do it. But if the prosecutor and the district attorneys aren't willing to, and judges aren't willing to sentence them to some consequence, whether it's community service or financial accountability, schools are no longer accountable. It used to be, schools, you would get suspended from school if you committed acts outside of school, but it's just not that way anymore. So it's difficult. But the sheriff's right in theory, of course.
And could we potentially see harsher legal punishments maybe for juveniles who participate? Is there an idea in your experience that the young kids feel that they're almost untouchable by the law because they're under the age of 18?
Yeah, so completely they feel untouchable because the system allows it. The unfortunate thing is I've always seen in my law enforcement career, when a teenager turns a certain age, whether it's 17 or 18, now they're treated as adults. They're committing adult crimes. So on their 18th birthday, what they could do on their 17th birthday is now criminal. And they're quite shocked by whatever the crimes were, whether they were stealing cars, shoplifting. So it's a reality check. As far as changing the law, I don't see it happening. Psychologists will tell you that the brain of a 16-year-old, 15-year-old isn't fully responsible, so therefore they can't be accountable for their actions.
Right, and you already know they're going to say that. They're going to say, well, they're not 25 and older, so their brain isn't fully developed. And so, nope, we're not doing it. Um, and so you're going to have psychologists come out and be like, nope, you're going to have different people, different politicians. It's going to be all types of different people on all different sides of the aisle that's going to come out and they're going to say, nope. We know that the brain development isn't fully developed until at least, mid 20s at the earliest. And so sometimes even 30 for some people. And so sometimes even people who are older just still don't figure it out. But in most cases, a person, usually doesn't make good adult decisions until they're really at the end of their teens and early to mid 20s. And so there's no way that that a law is going to change to make this where they can be held more accountable. It's not. The best option is to try to hold the parents also accountable because they allow their kids to go out in these cities and wow out and act crazy and just do whatever. And so that would be the best option. Let me know what y'all think. Let's continue. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell notification, and join the Young Tripp family.
Unless it's extremely serious crime, murder, rape, robbery, and so forth.
And then
which basically those crimes, you're already held highly accountable for the people who are doing those crimes. And usually the people who are doing those crimes that are minors are usually 16, 17. The lowest I've ever heard of anything like that is 15 years old. And most of those people were charged as an adults. You don't usually see a 14 or 13-year-old doing those types of crimes. Obviously, it's not unheard of, but usually you don't usually see that. I think I've only seen that maybe once or twice in a lifetime. So in this lifetime. So just wanted to kind of bring that up as well too. But the ones who are 15, 16, 17 and older, are being held accountable for those high crimes that he just mentioned. But yeah, let's continue.
Experience, we were talking a little bit before the interview. You've dealt with situations like this throughout your career. What motivates young people to act rowdy like this when it comes to disrespecting businesses and vandalizing? In your assessment, what's the motivation behind this?
Right. Well, I just think it's, lack of some level of moral fiber, that they are not volunteering when teenagers should be out volunteering. Peer pressure is huge. Back in the 80s, as I said, there was a phenomenon called wilding, where groups of youth just accumulated. They didn't have the same social media, but it still happened. It was spontaneous and it was dangerous and it was hard to police. But kids, again, this is a social problem. It's not a juvenile problem. It's not a criminal. It's a social problem that kids don't have outlets to, as I said, volunteer in some organization, get involved with something, sports or something else. So it's just school's out for summer as the song goes, and violence erupts, and it's going to be a long, hot summer as usual. Nothing new here. Deja vu all over again, Bowen.
And with the summer just around the corner here and school's out, what do you think law enforcement or parents or businesses can try to help do right now during this summer to maybe crack down on what's been going on?
Yeah, so I might be a little biased. So law enforcement does what they do. There's a saying, we don't write the music, we just play in the band. So we enforce laws. That's what law enforcement does. Legislatures makes them, judges sentence people. So parents, it's the big one. Parents have to be responsible for their children. If there's a curfew, for example, like in Washington, D.C., the parents have to be civilly responsible. The society is trending that way. We've seen that in school shootings and so forth, where parents were held responsible for the actions of the kids that went into schools and shot up schools. That's relatively something new that we're dealing with. And I think that trend will continue down the food chain, so to speak, to minor crime. If these kids break up a store, the restaurants in D.C., the parents should be paying for that damage. And then when that happens, I think hopefully the parents or guardians, in many cases there aren't parents, the guardian, some adult has to be responsible. We as adults have to be responsible for the kids, but we turn a blind eye to it because we're so sensitive to getting involved and seeing things. We just we walk on the other side of the street and we avoid these things. It's a difficult social problem.
And we'll definitely see how it plays out this summer if we see any sort of change with accountability. Michael Gold, thank you so much for your time this morning. It was great chatting with you.
Thank you, sir.
Take care. And with that, you have this here, Fox News U.S. as teen takeovers sweep U.S. cities as massive juvenile crowds overwhelm restaurants, malls, and neighborhoods with fights, robberies, and gunfire. Seeing that X post there from Fox News.
Advertisement, yeah. Yeah, I agree with the officer and the guy that was doing the interview that they need to be held accountable. The parents, along with the kids, need to be held accountable. The laws is not going to change because of the brain development situation, but if you at least hold these parents accountable for the damage and you put the kid in juvenile detention for however long, depending on the crime that they committed, and you make the parents pay, then maybe that will help with something. Let me know what y'all think. I'll have the original video pinned at the top of the chat and in a link in the description. I will catch y'all in the next one. Peace.